Hello guys, this is Jerry speaking. Welcome to LJPCBM React, episode 351. Now, before I begin this episode, I'd like to apologize on what happened earlier back in episode 351 development stages. Now, I'd like to present to you what happened before we actually began taping LJPCBM Reacts episode 351. I was originally going to react to Penny Game Podcast episode 48, but unfortunately that has to wait because number one, I haven't done reacting to this yet, and number two, it was confirmed that my webcam suddenly just went on me and did not work at all, sadly. So let's react to one of the videos now instead of playing a game until further notice. So that'll be fine by me, I guess. So let's just go ahead and do it anyway. Because today's episode, I'm going to react to Purple Tales Podcast, episode 15. I will react to 16 and 17 ASAP, but for now, we're going to react to 15. It could begin in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Come on. Thank you.
Continuing our look now at the best in children's television. This morning, the new kid, or dinosaur on the block.
So the big purple reptile that kids can't resist.
The big purple
teaches about love and it just kind of like soothes the kids.
And always, there's that signature song.
Yes, this is PurpleTalesPodcast.com. I'm Nancy J, and I think I have had a sip of the Kool-Aid because that song now, when I hear it, when I see this opening of our podcast, it really gives me chills. I don't think I'll ever get tired of it. And thank goodness, Carrie, Barney Stinson, you certainly haven't gotten tired of it, have you?
I have not. And at some point, we'll actually have to talk about the Barney Stinson whole thing there too.
Well, Barney Stinson was on How I Met Your Mother.
Yeah, so we'll talk about that.
Did I say Barney? No, I said Carrie Barney.
Well, yeah, Barney Stinson. So we'll get into that. Welcome back, Nancy.
Hey, thank you so much.
Welcome back.
Had a good time in Los Angeles. We've got Comedy Central wants Barney on as on a guest on a show. So we'll have to talk about that in the weeks ahead.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I gotta tell you, we had a Facebook message you didn't see. But they're missing Nancy, and there's a hashtag.
Thank you.
The hashtag miss our Nancy, bring our Nancy back. So they're putting the love out there for you. They miss you.
Thank you. Well, I appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. Whoopsie, I hit the mic. So,
Okay.
Well, that's what happens when you're out of the studio for a week.
That's true. I don't know what to do. But anyway, so here's to you. Thank you. I'm glad to be back.
Hold on a second
Wait,
here.
what?
We're missing our mugs this week.
I can't leave my Starbucks cup on the table, kind of like Game of Thrones. Come on, everybody else is doing it. They can't just take it out digitally.
Once again, you go out to Hollywood for a week.
See, and
next
that's what
thing you know,
happens. Okay, you're right. You know what? I am going to go ahead. I will pour my coffee into this mug, and this is a special mug. Actually, let me put this on the floor because we don't want to have that on there, because this is the Real News Public Relations. This is the umbrella company of the people who help us put on Purple Tales Podcast.
Yes.
Exactly.
We love them. We're very thankful for them.
And we want to thank Jeff Crilly and crew. So thank you. So really, this is much better than a Starbucks
and our
mug.
wonderful producer Matt that's there taking care of us.
Matt, of course, Matt. Thank you, Matt. No, this is great. I mean, it is a group.
Wait, hold up. What?
Really, this is much better than a Starbucks
Absolutely, and our
mug.
wonderful producer Matt that's there taking care of us.
Matt, of course, Matt. Thank you, Matt. No, this is great. I mean, it is a group effort. It is a team effort, and we have put together a great team. And I'll tell you what, Carrie, you've got some fans out there. As I was listening to last week's show, oh my gosh, about the tour and with Sloan and that of all those shows that you were on, that was really a kid's first concert, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was amazing. Absolutely amazing. To I think for people to realize how big it was. What a huge kids show, and having a rock and roll group come in there and do it was just, it's incredible. And several people were starstruck by Jake Berry, including I've known him forever and I still am. To see him again was so special.
Wow.
It was so funny this week, Nancy. I was on a huge photo shoot all week, big corporation photo shoot, and I went in, and one of the video crew was David Franks. David Franks was mentioned last week in the episode. He was the gentleman that did the voice of Barney on the road with us for the first year. And
Yeah.
Jake told this hysterical story about they would play a trick on David and tape up his booth and put smoke in there. And I said, it's so funny, Dave, because neither one of us knew we were going to be working together. I just walked in the room and there he is. And I hadn't seen him in a couple of years. Mm-hmm. And I said, we were talking about you last week. And he goes, oh my gosh, those are so great memories. I remember that. And I've got to watch the episode. I've got to see that. So
That's great. That's great.
It's funny how you're talking about someone in the Barney world and then boom, there they are.
There
a
was
couple of days later.
I guess a couple of weeks ago you mentioned Mr. Postal, Mr. Post-it.
Terry Madison.
Yeah. I go there all the time to return my Amazon things, and Terry said, "Oh my God, I think you called him Mr. Postal instead of." And he was like, "Instead of Mr. Post-it, your card was up there." I mean, and apparently he worked on Barney too.
He did. He did. He's a good
See,
friend.
that's what I mean.
Yeah, it's such a family. We talk about that a lot, but we all love each other and support each other, and so glad to see each other. And
But see, how he found out, how he even mentioned Barney to me was as I gave him what I was mailing, and it said Nancy J, and he kind of looks at it and he goes, Nancy J, you do that Purple Tales podcast with Carrie, and I'm like, yes, and then I mean, so it is. Everybody's connected.
It's so funny.
Everybody's connected.
It's so funny.
And it's interesting because I was thinking about the Barney message that
Yes.
we've talked about now for weeks.
Yes.
And it seems that Barney has always been about inclusion
Absolutely.
and actually diversity. Everyone is loved. It doesn't matter how you look, how you are. This is all about diversity and inclusion. And that was 1988 when it all started.
Yes.
And that message now rings so much more true today.
But it's funny, we use those terms. We didn't use those terms. Like
No.
Barney just did that. He just loved everyone, which is something that I just thought was so. That message of love and that it's universal. That's just what he did. They weren't trying to create a statement or something. That's just what he did. He was just a friend
Right.
Exactly.
and all of that. And so that's what I love about it so much.
Kind of ahead of his time, especially when it comes to
Well,
our
it was
guests.
true. That's why
Yeah.
the kids love it so because it's just true. So it was amazing. We've been talking about so much how our fans they keep asking about the Backyard Gang and the Backyard Kids, and guess who we have today? One of the original.
One of the originals,
We do.
finally.
Ricky L. Carter, who played Derek, is here with us.
Hey. Hey, how y'all doing?
Hey, okay, Ricky L. Carter, Derek. Are you tweeting that you're on our
I
show?
like, Jay-Z, he's just looking in and just, he's just wondering what's going on. So
I get
I'm
it.
letting him know we're in the building.
Okay, as long as you let him know that. But I think it's interesting because in many ways, Ricky, you were part of that whole movement of inclusion that we didn't even use those words back then.
Yes, ma'am. Definitely. Yeah, back then it was when you dealt with Barney and Friends. When I first started out with Barney, I was like, oh, Purple Dinosaur. My mom was like, yeah, you're gonna go audition for this character, and I said, well, I don't know about a purple dinosaur. I was a kid, I like dinosaurs, but I didn't know anything about Barney at that time. You know. And so it was a good experience just going. It was like a couple thousand people.
Wow.
When I
For the
interviewed-
audition?
For the audition, yeah. Celine Grant, he was the original guy who did with Sandy Duncan.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And, he was Bill Cosby's son on Ghost Dad. And so, I was at first a little nervous. I haven't done anything like that before,
Sure.
And so it was a 2-day audition. And the first, it was actually a guy that I was friends with. He and I got the call back on the second day. And,
Wow.
of course, I sung Starlight Star Bright, and I blew him out the wall.
So you were singing even as a child.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Definitely.
Well, let's go back to really your beginnings, because I know you were born in Shreveport, Louisiana.
Yes, ma'am.
And your mom, she took it upon herself to get you out of a bad environment as you were growing up.
Yeah, in parts of Shreveport, well, most of it, was a lot of poverty. And my family is from Shreveport. And so my mom, when she graduated from Louisiana Tech, she moved here to Dallas as a single mother. I was living with my grandmother at the time. And, she just said, well, we're going to make a better living for you. And then, brought me here to Texas. And, she said that it's just something about you. And, even as a kid, she said, people can see it. You're just different. And so she said, I'm going to get you into acting, and, we're going to use your personality to build on what God has blessed you with.
It's so interesting. Josh Martin, who I don't know that you met Josh, he came a little bit after. He's been on our episodes. He came from Louisiana, too, and the same kind of story. He, not a whole lot going. He was from Houghton, Louisiana, and he came and took acting at KD Studios, and you kind of see that. So we've had a couple from Louisiana where you've seen that connection.
Right.
So how old were you when you auditioned for Barney?
I think I was 6.
So little.
Yeah, I was just a little. I mean, of course, I'm a bigger guy now, but I was just so little at that time, and just a little me. And,
Wow.
And so I just auditioned for it, and just, I don't know. I guess I stood out amongst the rest, and so.
Do you remember your feeling when you got the call that said, "Hey, you're in"?
No, I really don't remember the feeling. I do remember that my mom is saying that you're going to be on this Barney show, and I was like, okay. Whatever you want me to do, Mom. So.
Now, which one was your first?
My first show was Waiting for Santa.
Waiting for Santa.
That was my first show, and people to this day, I was just watching the Waiting for Santa, man, and you killed it, dude, and so yeah, there we go.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So if you're listening to us, we have the Waiting for Santa.
Oh, I remember
video
this.
out there. Of course.
This is one of my favorite moments as a kid, okay? Number one, okay, I've seen this in my life, okay? Well, I have, never mind. Okay, now, Ricky, if you watch it, I'm sorry, but that's just me. Number two, I really loved Barney as a kid, but you in this thing, I've watched this when I was a little baby, okay? That was awesome, so... With Jessica Zuka as Tina with it, and Becky Swank and everybody else in the Backyard Gang, well, that's just amazing, especially with Barney, who was played by David Voss in the costume, and Bob Webster's I react to. I sent it to Bob as he's watching his reaction video now, but that's just fine by me, I guess. But in any case, I've reacted to the whole entire episode, Bob West episode. But anyway, let's continue on.
There's the big Barney seems to take up the whole
Yeah,
picture.
he usually does. But yeah, we're also on YouTube, so you can see this
So
on
yeah,
YouTube.
you might want. Oh, look at that! Look at you there.
Dinosaur.
I'm glad to meet you.
We're all members of Barney's Backyard Gang,
Wow.
and we'd like you to be a member too. Gee, it's great to have a lot of new friends. I didn't think Mom would sure come true so fast. It's the best
If
Christmas
you haven't seen us on
present I
YouTube,
could
you
get.
must, so you can see the smile on Ricky's face as he's watching this.
And that little
You've got to
boy.
see this.
How does it make you feel watching that?
I
Sing
remember
yourself.
that.
There's a big smile on his face.
You know what? It's actually inspirational. That's the main word. When we'll get to it, I know you guys will have some questions for me, but
Sure.
I realized that Barney, it wasn't about at that time the memories of Barney. What I realized through my trials and tribulations in life is about that Barney actually helped me get to a certain level in life worldwide. And so now I can use what I know now as far as my trials and tribulations and things of that nature. And it inspires me because I touch so many people and so many thousands and millions of people worldwide. So it inspires me when I see that, like, you know what, man, it's in you. So keep going.
I love that.
I love hearing
Wow.
that, and that's important. That's very, very important.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
before we get to those trials and tribulations, I want to talk about your Barney years, because I know, Carrie, the two of you did the big Radio City
we
tour
did.
together.
We did. In 1994, we
Okay.
did.
Yeah.
Which was such an unbelievable experience. That was my first real connection. I'd been doing PR for Barney beforehand and birthday parties, but that was my big inclusion. So it was new for me. A lot of you had been doing the shows,
Right.
but that was my first joining in. I was with David Joyner, and then I was the other one, and we went on up to New York, and it was a pretty
Yeah, I think we
Unbelievable
stayed. I
experience.
think everybody still stayed at the same hotel, the
We did.
Regal Royal Hotel.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, we were at the
Yeah.
Regal Royal Hotel.
Which at that time was like the hotel.
Oh yeah, it was that one in Trump and was it Trump Tower?
Not at the time.
Not
I don't
at the time.
think.
Yeah,
I don't
Regal, I
think.
think was number 1 in Manhattan.
Yeah, it
Large
was.
one
And it was so
Southern-
cool if you remember this because the Grammys was going on right before.
I have a story about that.
And all of these top singers and musicians were coming. So you'd be in the elevator, or I was in the hotel bar with Kiss, which was just beyond cool. And I just came from Dallas. It's like one of my first times in New York.
Right.
So Barney was in the hotel bar. Okay, here's that one.
You cut me off.
So
I was
you,
having an appetizer and a glass of water.
So yeah, real quickly about that.
Yeah.
Whitney Houston, she had got nominated for a Grammy.
Yeah, we'll be doing Whitney Houston. Well, back then, I used to be a Whitney Houston fan, but not really that much anymore. But, however, nowadays, I'm a huge heavy metal fan, but not to be confused here, Ricky Carr, if you're watching this, I'm sorry, but there you go. Let's continue on.
And so we were all in the hotel lobby, and earlier that day, Bobby Brown, he was incognito, and he came in the day, and he was at the phone booth making a call inside, and someone was like, "Hey, that's Bobby Brown," and I was like, "That's Bobby," and I was like, and I walked up to him and I said, "Bobby." I said, "Hi, Bobby." Tell Whitney I said hi. So later on that night, Whitney comes down, and she has these big old bodyguards. They're just like 500 pounds. These guys are huge. And so I go up and they's like, "Go up and talk to her," because they know I was the outgoing one. Go up and talk to her. So I was like, okay. So I said I had a Barney postcard and I wrote down the autograph to her. And so I go up to her and the bodyguards, "Oh, well, watch out, little man. Watch out, young guy." And I'm like, "Hey, no, Derek, Barney and friends, I want to talk to Whitney." And then they was like, "Whitney, no, do you know anything, Barney, Derek?" And she was like, "Oh my gosh, let him in." So I go in, go through the crowd and I say, "Whitney, I'm so happy to be here and meet with you. I'm Derek, and you have Tina and Tasha, and we're the Barney crew." She said, "Sweetie, I know exactly who you are, and my daughter, she's in love with you." And she reached over and gave me a kiss on the cheek. And so when I went back to the group, I gave her the autograph picture, and I went back to the group, and the kids were like, "Oh my God, you just talked to Whitney Houston."
Wow.
And I was like, "I know," and she kissed me on the cheek. I'm gonna never wash my face.
that's why you have that beard now, isn't it? Because you never had to wash
It's
your
still there,
face.
Nancy. It's still there, the lipstick.
So you knew you were famous then, even as that little kid, didn't you?
Yeah.
Because
Yeah, I
8, 9 at that point, probably.
Yeah. Well, at that point, I was 12.
Oh,
like,
we did that. Oh, okay.
Yeah, because I was born in 81.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, 88. Okay.
Yeah, so I was like 12, 13.
Taking me a minute to do
almost,
the math, Nancy,
yeah,
sorry.
yeah, I was a little open there. I was always almost at the stage like, okay, well, your mustache is almost here, and so we're gonna have to part ways. I was almost at that stage.
So where was your mom during all these years?
She was there the whole time. She walked with me. God bless her for being a single mother with so much drive and so much push. And with my mom, I learned from her how to get up at 5 a.m. and go to a job. And as a kid that's 6, 7, 8, 9, I didn't, at that time, I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to work,
Right.
And when I got older, I realized the importance. It helps me now to this day because I realized the importance of being a go-getter. I realized the importance of the values of working hard and providing for your kids and showing them the game and teaching them the way of life. And so it really helped me as far as her drive.
Wow.
Of course, Carrie, being in the suit, could leave the production and walk the walk the streets. Walk the
You
streets.
got me walking streets and in the bars.
She's at the bar, in the streets, he's in the alleyway talking to Jim. What is going on?
1 week in LA and next
See what I know. It's like it's a whole different world, isn't it? No, but you know what I mean. You were incognito. You were anonymous.
Right.
Yes.
You, however, even as a little kid, you probably got recognized. What was that like?
It was sort of weird at first, and they're like, even because when I was in middle school, even right when I got off TV, still people would, recognize me. And so I remember I worked when I got off the show, I was like 13, almost 14 at the
Okay.
time. And my mom, she was saying, hey, you have two options. You have number one, you can go to, keep doing acting and go to a different type of gig, doing commercials, etc. Or you can go get a job and, because you've been working all your life. And I'm like, Mom, like, I'm only 14. Like, what do you mean get a job, And so she said, I'll tell you what. So she went to Minyards and talked to the store manager, and I started working sacking groceries there at 14. And, you're supposed to be 15 at the time. And so I was 14. I did that for a year. And then I got promoted to cash register. And I did that for a year until I was 16. So I was at Minyards for 2 years. So people would come in and was like, I know you from somewhere, right? And like, yeah, probably TV. And Derek, Barney, Derek? Oh, what are you doing here? They'll call, hey, guess who's taking out my groceries right now, man? So, people will recognize me. And at first, it was a little nervous. I was a little nervous, but I got used to it over the years,
Was it hard for you to leave the show?
It was the relationships that we built throughout the years. It was hard, just not understanding where we were going to go next with that. I didn't understand the importance like Selena Gomez did as far as when you're on the show to keep going. I should have just kept going into acting and things of that nature at that time. But
yeah, good thing you mentioned Selena Gomez, and but that's a good thing. But anyway, let's continue on.
I didn't understand the impact until later on in life that Barney really had on people.
Right.
So.
Well, when you were 13, I mean.
Yeah. I was like, Mom, it's time for me to get with the girls now. What's going on? Like, what are you doing?
Right.
Did that work as a teenager? Did that work saying, hey,
That was my main pickup line, Nancy. You don't know me? Derek? Barney? Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. You don't remember? Oh my gosh, that was you. Okay, give me your phone number. We'll talk about it. Yes, no problem.
Carrie said it just never worked for him.
Because he was the guy behind the scene, like you were saying. It was a little different.
No one knew who I was.
It was a little different.
I know. I don't know why I'm giving him a really hard time today. I
Yeah.
apologize. But no, was it hard though to just suddenly not be on a TV show anymore?
No. I think because at the time since I was only a few months later, I started working at Minyards. So, again, I didn't understand right when I got off of it the impact of the show.
Sure.
And so, I'm just like, okay, well, I just need to get another job,
Right.
And so, it was more of that nature. I was more into like girls and living life as a teenage boy
Sure.
at that time. I was like, whatever,
Right.
So you all went on the tour together, but then
No,
did you?
not the tour.
Not the whole
Just-
tour. Just that
just
one
Radio
thing.
City.
Was that the only thing you did on the road then that you remember?
I remember one time we went to Connecticut.
Well,
I don't remember exactly when that was, but we went to Connecticut and did a fundraiser.
And that's probably what Bob was talking about. a
Okay.
couple weeks
Bob
ago.
West.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
Which I mentioned in a reaction video to the Bob West episode of LJPCBM Reacts. But anyway, let's continue on.
Went to Connecticut one time and did a fundraiser. It was really cold. I remember that, and I remember the snow. So we did that. It was a good experience, and so that's the only other trips I think I did as far as traveling outside the state.
Well, in doing my research, and really about Barney, you were the first or one of the first African Americans on the show.
Yes, again, Salim Grant. I want to pay him his respect. He did the first 3 shows with Sandy Duncan, and if you know him or not know him, he's the guy from Ghost Dad, which is Bill Cosby's
Cosby.
son. He played his son on Ghost Dad.
I did not
he did
realize
3 shows
that.
with Sandy Duncan, and for whatever reason, they parted ways, Salim and Barney, and then that's when I came in and did the big casting call. And so technically I'm the original, as far as on the show.
Right.
But, as far as video purposes and Sandy Duncan purposes, he was actually the
Now,
first
didn't
guy.
you also, now that I'm thinking about this, the Majestic?
Majestic?
You
Yes,
did the
we did that.
Majestic as
In
well.
Dallas?
So that
Yes,
was
in Dallas.
actually before Radio City. Majestic was their first stage show.
Yep.
And that's where they introduced Baby Bop,
Yep.
the character Baby Bop. And so I was like, yeah, you would have been in that
Yep,
in
I
that
was in
show.
that.
Yeah,
Mhm.
that was a
Majestic.
really big show at the time.
Yes.
And their first live appearance.
Right.
In the interest of inclusion, did you feel different, or you were the backyard gang?
As far as what? As far as feeling different? What do you mean?
Being African American, say. I mean, did that?
No. I at that time again, I was more of going with the flow. Nancy, when I got off the show, or let's say my later years into the show, my last few years, then it really hit me when Hope Cervantes came. Tasha,
Yeah.
when she came, then I was like, oh my gosh, I've been the only, African American here this whole time, and she's here, and she's mixed with Hispanic and Black. A lot of people don't know that, and so she's mixed. And so when she came, then I was like, okay, well, I got my sister with me,
Right.
And so when she came, then I realized, I was like, wow, that was an impact for me all these years to be the only African American guy on the show, and so many people afterwards, like mothers, would come to me and was like, man, what you did for my son or for my daughter, I would just, sit them there in front of the TV, and I can go cook or I can go clean, and you help raise my child, and that's when I started realizing the big impact of who I was and what I brought to the table.
Mm-hmm. So you ended Barney, you went to work at Minyards, and then there were some troubled years. Is that a good way of saying it, or is that?
Yeah, you're on point, Nancy. Yeah, it was some trouble years. Yeah, yeah. I had my daughter Ayana Carter. She's 20 now. And I had
Oh,
her.
really? You have a daughter? I did not realize that. Anyway, continue on.
I know. I just look good, Carrie. Thank you.
Wow.
Thank you. Yeah. So I had her when I was
We
17.
could be her grandparents, Carrie.
Yeah, no, you look good. Stop it, Nancy. So, yeah, I had her at 17, got her mom pregnant at 16. And so, again, I was out there ladies guy at that time,
Right.
hey, using my credentials, it is what it is. And, so I had that happen to me as far as being a young dad. And then after that, I remember back in 2000, and I had her in 99. And then in 2001, I had an SUV. I was involved in the hit and run. Someone hit me. And then my SUV flipped 4 times down the street.
Was this in Texas?
Yes, ma'am. In North Dallas. And so a lot of people don't know about the story. And so I flipped 4 times down the street. It was me and 4 other guys in the car, and I landed with the wheels up. It was like 6 inches from my head. But, when we got to the hospital, because they dragged me out the car and took me by ambulance. And when we got to the hospital, the doctors were saying, oh my gosh, man, well, how did nothing happen to the people in the car? Because the only thing happened was, like, if you see here is a cut in my finger.
Wow.
And my nail.
Oh, this is so terrifying. I know. I felt bad for you, Ricky, at this point. But anyway, let's continue on.
And then I got a cut on my face.
Wow.
No broken limbs, no broken
Did you have
nothing.
your seatbelts on?
I did.
Wow.
But that was it. And I mean, like, I still have the pictures, and it was just like literally smashed in all the way, and the doctors were like shocked,
Wow.
And so that's actually when God started talking to me about, life and things of that nature. Of course, I didn't understand him talking to me at that time, but that's when it started.
Sure.
Somebody was watching out for you.
Yeah, favor.
Okay. But then, weren't there some drugs involved somewhere in your life, or?
Yeah, I was in the streets. I was hustling. And to be honest with you, I never did anything like, I never sold any like hard drugs like cocaine and crack and like hard drugs. I used to be the guy that, marijuana, weed. I would sell that here and there. Trying to get through college. I had a child at the time, and so. Actually, when I got shot November 13, 2004.
So wait, we had the car wreck, and okay, you're skipping something here.
Yeah, I had the car wreck in 01, and then after 01, in 2002, I started to do my music, and so I did that for a couple of years, and then in 2004, then I was still in the streets. I was still out there, not understanding my gift in life, and someone tried to rob me, and they shot me in the spine, and I was paralyzed from the waist down for 2 years.
Wow.
You did.
You kidding me? You've been robbed? I feel kind of bad for you, Ricky, at this point, but oh man, I don't know what's going on with you, Ricky, but this is terrifying. Continue.
Walk in here today.
Yes, ma'am. He's good, ain't he? Yeah, so doctors, and it's funny because
You're not going to show us the
no,
scar, are you?
but no, I'm going to show you this letter that the
That you
doctors
carry?
Yeah, I carry it for inspiration, Nancy, because
Yeah,
you
this
know
is once again YouTube. If you're on some of this, but he's pulling out a letter right now for our listeners on the.
And it's
Yeah.
got all
Exactly.
sorts of stuff in there.
well, as a businessman, as a boss, you have to be prepared. Because I never know who I might meet or see.
And you did say you went to college too. Where did that come into all this?
Texas A&M Commerce.
Oh, okay.
I
great.
went there.
You're an Aggie.
Yeah, the Aggies are the Texas A&M. Texas
Okay.
A&M Commerce.
Commies?
I don't know what it is.
Not the commies.
It's something,
No,
but I don't know their mascot. But Texas A&M
Okay.
Commerce is in East Texas,
Okay.
and I went there in '99
Okay.
and 2000.
Okay.
But
Good.
real quick,
Good,
let me
good.
read this to you. This is just a letter, and you can see how old it is.
Yeah.
So it's original.
Oh, it
so
is.
Okay, it's buffering. I don't know what's going on. Kept buffering everywhere. But anyway, let's just read the letter.
Old it is.
Yeah.
So it's original.
Oh, it
so
is
you
all-
know.
Okay, we're expanding difficulties, everyone. Please stand by, and we're gonna get to that letter in just a few moments. When we come back, we'll get to the letter, and we'll just read whatever Ricky wanted. We'll be right back. Welcome back to LJPCBM Reacts, episode 351. I am so sorry for the huge delay. I just came back from this Wi-Fi difficulties. Now, I just came back from that, and now let's finish off episode 351. Continue in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
It is old. It is.
I didn't print
kind
this
of-
off or anything.
It's barely
And who's
holding
this
on
from?
together.
YouTube.
Who's this
remember?
letter from?
So this is from Parkland Health Center, and you
Okay.
see the date, November 2nd, 2005.
Okay.
So it
Okay.
says, this letter is to verify my patient Ricky L. Carter was involved in the accident and sustained a spinal cord injury, which left him permanently paralyzed from the waist down on November 13, 2004. Mr. Carter was hospitalized at Parkland Health and Hospital Systems from November 13, 2004, and discharged on December 3rd, 2004. As a result of Mr. Carter's spinal cord injury, he is now permanently disabled and confined to a wheelchair. Although he is participating in physical therapy weekly, currently he is unable to work. Before Mr. Carter can be released for work, he must complete a vocational therapy program to gain employment
Okay.
in a wheelchair accessible environment.
Well, I felt bad for Ricky at this point. Well, hang on, folks. Let me write a message to a friend of mine who is from Nigeria, who is known as Abe Googie. And if he's watches now, podcast show where it tells. Hold on. One moment. Folks, I'm gonna send links in the after the show real quick. And continue on.
Ooh, won't he do it?
Wow.
You know what's funny, Nancy, about that and Carrie is that. Hold on 1 second. Sorry. So I never thought I wasn't going to walk. When the doctors wrote that letter and did it, I never thought I wasn't. I just figured at that point, I told him, I said, yeah, I'll walk again. It's just that I figured at that point that God was talking to me and I need to get closer into my spiritual side and need to realize that the gift that I brought to life. And so, eventually as I got closer with him and started realizing those things, then I started gradually walking more and more.
How often do you read that letter to yourself?
If I can every day. Yeah, some days, I just might be going, but if I can every day, it's motivational, and so.
Well, Ricky, you
Helps my
don't
spirit.
know this, but I had a horrible accident 4 years ago.
Did you?
Oh, I felt bad for you, Carrie. Oh, what happened? Can you tell me this in PM? See what happened? Continue on.
I fell off a ladder and I snapped my femur, which is the largest bone in your body.
Right.
And I know how hard of what you went through because I couldn't walk. I had to learn to walk again. I went through 6 months of it. I couldn't work.
Wow. You didn't know?
Yeah.
Wow.
Gosh,
Yeah.
no.
Wow.
Yeah, so I've got titanium rods in my
Wow.
left leg, and my therapist used to say, I love seeing you because 75% of the patients they get depression.
They give up.
Yeah, they give up. They
Yeah.
get depression, and I had to walk again, and I had that drive, and I believe I was being watched over as well.
Yeah, how do you all not give up?
Yeah, and so I went, and
Yeah.
that was part of my inspiration for getting back in the costume. If you didn't know that, because I was told by a therapist I'd never be the same again, and those are the wrong words to tell me.
Right.
So I am very inspired by what you went through and what you're talking about, Ricky, because I understand there's an aspect that because life doesn't stop.
Right.
Right? Everyone else keeps going. Everyone
Yeah.
else is going to work, and they're going through your life, and they kind of forget about you.
Right.
And you kind of have to. You've got to be your own motivation.
Right.
And I wasn't told. I knew I would walk again. So what you went through was so much worse than what I went through, and I'm just inspired to hear that and to see you walk in today and move like you're moving is just
Wow.
amazing.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Thank you. Yeah, the only thing I have left is that my right ankle, I can't feel anything in my right ankle. I have to wear this like brace on my ankle. And so that's the only thing. But I'll take that over being
sure.
paralyzed for both legs. I had stents on both of my legs and braces and locked when I stood up and walked. And so I'll take that. No problem.
Well, and that's the other part of it is that
Y'all should see Nancy right now. She's like, oh my gosh, what is going on around here?
but that's what I'm saying. You're very happy. You're smiling. You're not.
Yeah.
You didn't let that hold you back. You didn't get pissed off. You didn't get
At all.
negative about
Exactly.
Oh, you had.
Oh, and one thing for sure, because I'm writing this down to a friend of mine who's from Nigeria. I'm just going to write it down just in case it's a message, because I always write, just in case it's okay with that. But anyway, let's continue on.
Get mad at some point, don't you?
Well,
I mean,
no,
there's
sure
part of
you
that.
do. But what I'm saying is now he pushed through it, and that's how.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
You know
it's
what's
incredible.
funny, Nancy? Someone asked me that before, man. I know, like, when were you mad? Like, on another interview, they said, when were you mad? What time was that? And I said, you know what, man? I really wasn't.
Oh.
Like, I really, because I didn't want to dwell on that
Sure.
part of it, because I needed to focus more on the positive side of it as far as me getting better. And so I didn't want to, why did this happen to me? And,
Right.
oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm shot. And I didn't want to dwell on that, you know. And then I wanted to be a positive inspiration to other people that might be going through pain and suffering as well.
Absolutely. I stop people all the time when I see them, and just say, "I know.
Me too.
Don't
That's
stop.
a good thing.
Go
If you
for it.
see
Go for
someone
it."
in a wheelchair or someone who is struggling, who has been hurt, what do you say to them?
I tell them all the time. I understand what it is. I understand about people kind of forgetting about you. I understand how difficult this is. I understand one day you were running and now you can't even bend your leg.
Yeah, me too.
Don't stop. So I am just, you had no idea we had this connection, but
I
I
didn't,
feel
no.
connected to you even more.
Yeah.
Hearing this and seeing this and having that letter is amazing.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Did that catastrophic injury knock some sense into you?
That one, it did, Nancy. My accident until I broke my leg in 2013 is
Now what?
Oh, my
Been a lot.
accident in 2013 when I broke my leg, my knee in 4 places, and my ankle in 5
What were
places.
you doing then?
Can
you tell us?
Yeah. And you know what? Purple Tales podcast, man, I'm gonna break it down to you guys, and I don't even tell the story. I was leaving the bar one day. I had been drinking too much, and I was going to pick up my daughter, and I was going to a friend's house before I picked up my daughter, and when I went to make a U-turn at the light, then my foot slipped off of the gas or the brake and hit the gas, and I drove into a pole, knocked the pole down,
Wow.
and didn't even understand the level of severity because I was too intoxicated. And I got out the car trying to run to my friend's house, and as soon as I got out, I just fell to the ground. And like, I didn't understand even my leg was broken. I was that intoxicated. But you know what? After that, I said, you know, because I couldn't work for like, that was February 2013. So let's say March, April, May, June, July, August, September. So like 7 or 8 months, I had a stent on my leg that like I couldn't even bend my leg. So it was straight. And when I took a shower or anything, I had these big rods in my leg all the way up to here.
Right.
And so sitting at home for all those times, I was just asking God, I said, God, you know what? This is not what I'm supposed to be. This is not what I'm supposed to be doing. This is not where I'm supposed to be.
Right.
So if you can take the taste of alcohol out of my mouth, I appreciate it. And then like after that, it was probably 2016, and that's when the taste just left out of my mouth. Now I have a drink here and there every blue moon, but I don't even drink anymore like that. So you know, that's why I say if I know God can do it for me, then He can do it for you as well. If you're suffering from like alcoholism or any that type of addiction.
Sure.
And that has to play with your head, your mental health too.
Yeah. I mean, it did at the time. Like, I was like, dang. Because I think more, Nancy, I was more down on myself because I knew the person that I am. And I was more down on myself mentally because I'm like, man, you know, I'm stuck in this situation right now because of my own actions.
Right.
And so that's what the hardest part was. You know, my pain throughout life was never more like, oh my gosh, I'm in pain and, you know, what am I going to do here? It was more of a disappointment because of who I am and I know that I aspire to be as a king.
Sure.
Then that was the more of the disappointing part that always affected me when I deal with all my trials and tribulations.
Don't you think that fans of Derek are going to be surprised and yet happy that you made it?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, because even now, you know, when they hear about me doing music, and you know, some of them don't know I've been doing music for 17 years. You know, I did my first demo in 2001.
Wow.
And so so many people were like, oh well, you know, I read a comment one time on YouTube when I did one of my videos, and they said, oh my gosh, Derek is rapping now. Barney would be disappointed. You know, and so sometimes, man, on the outside looking in, you can't please everyone. You know,
absolutely
you
not.
can't please everyone.
No.
So, but you have to make sure that you're happy within yourself first. And once you're happy within yourself and you're knowing that you're doing whatever you're doing in life for a positive reason,
Yeah.
and to help others out because you realize your purpose, then whatever
Right.
everybody else says
Exactly.
doesn't matter to me. So.
Why rap? You said you killed it as a kid singing, what was it, Starlight, Star Bright?
Star Bright, yeah.
So, I mean, you obviously had a singing voice.
Right.
Rap is more about kind of emotion and words and the beat. So, and I probably am not describing that correctly. So why rap?
You know what? That's a good question, Nancy. I didn't understand the gift that I had. Because think about it. When we're young, right? And we're talking about, hey, Mr. Knickerbocker boppity bop.
Yeah.
I like it the way that you boppity bop with your hand and the green grass goes all around and around and the green grass goes all around.
Yeah.
You know, so that's actually harmonizing and putting a kiddie rap sort of together. You know what I'm saying? And so I didn't understand the level that I've already had it in me all my life, right? So when I got into the accident, then I went to church one day in 2001 when I got into the car accident and it flipped over. I went to church and then so I testified, and so I was going by Ricky L. Carter at the time. I wasn't doing music things of that nature.
Right.
So I went to church and testified. I told a lady about my testimony, and so the usher said when I was leaving, she said, "Son, you're so gifted." And so when I left out of church, I was doing a musical with this guy, or I was doing a show with this guy, and so that's when he came up and said, hey man, you should be gifted, because I was telling him his name should be Gifted. He's like, no, knowing my life. He said, you're gifted. So I went from starting to at Lil Rick to Gifted, because when I first wrote my first song, after I testified, I told my mom about it and my aunt, and I went into the room, and so all of a sudden, I guess God was just saying, pick up a pen. So I was just sitting there, and I picked up a pen, and it just came to me, and I just started writing, And then ever since after that, I was writing like for 6 months straight. I was writing like 3 songs a day.
Oh, wow.
I was just writing. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm sort of good at this,
Yeah.
Because I had wrote a song called "Give Me a Pen" with a guy named Chris back in I was like 14 or 15 or 16. So I know I could write, And so then after that, when I got shot in 2004, I went to the Erykah Badu studio in South Dallas, and I was on 2 crab leg crutches.
Wow.
And so when I walked in there, everybody was looking at me like, what is this guy finna talk about? So I went and I went to the stage, sat a chair down, me and my cousin, threw the crutches, and I started rapping, and everybody was like, oh my God, this guy's good,
Right.
And so they ran up to the stage and was like, oh my God, you're a go-getter. Oh my God, you're a go-getter. So that's where Gifted, the go-getter, comes from. A gift from God, go-getter from the streets.
Wow.
Of course, I was going to ask you where that name came from.
I know
But
you were.
no, but it makes sense.
It does.
Of course, it makes
It
sense.
does. Mm-hmm.
So, where are you today?
Well, currently I've been in the merchant service industry, credit card processing for the last 10 years. And so I work for a company now. I'm a trainers and QC rep. But on the side of that, we're still following my dreams. And so I have something called Fab TV, which is Family First, Awesome Artist, Business I Believe in, and True Testimony. I have Monica outside. She's our co-host.
Oh, that's great.
And we're going to do podcasts as well, things of that nature.
Oh, really? You can. Oh, yeah. I don't know if it's gonna be a reaction video for LJPCBM reacts or not, but we'll see. We'll see. Continue on.
On our season 3. And then I'm doing that. I have a mixtape coming out in a month. I have my Go Get a Gear clothing line that we're going to reintroduce in January of next year.
Cool.
I have my album called Miracle Work that's going to be dropping November 13th of this year, which is the day I got shot initially in 04.
wow.
November 13th is.
Oh, wow. November 13th. Well, I'm pretty excited. I haven't seen any rap videos, which I'm not into anymore. I'm not interested. So, I'm sorry, Ricky, if you're watching this. So, I'm very excited for your hip hop. I'm not interested in the cha-cha slide, which is not my thing anymore. So, I'm more of a heavy metal dude. So, there you go. Let's continue on.
Miracle, I'm Still Alive. It's called Miracle Work.
Wow.
And that's pretty much what that is. I have everything structured out for the rest of the year. So.
Wow. I think somewhere we have a clip of
The video, we one of them.
We got a
Yeah,
little video
that's
here.
it.
Oh, my
So be
goodness.
sure again. Go to YouTube.
There it is.
Go to YouTube. Look at that.
Wow, yeah, that's spitting. Villa Cooler, my guy Cam King, he's out there. He, his company Villa Cooler, they did the recording on my second one with me, but on this one, Charles W. Bush, he recorded this video, and this is called Spittin'. This is actually my first single off of my debut album,
Oh,
Miracle
wow.
Work. So yeah,
Right. And I know that I watched it, and it's powerful. That
you.
first one you sent me. The second one, it's it's kind of.
it's for the ladies more. But yeah, Nancy, that one is more. Yeah,
I thought it was for the guys. Come on.
Well, it is technically for the guys. But,
Come on, come on. No,
it
it
is
was.
technically for the
But
guys.
I was trying to think. What was the line that I liked so much? I got to look at it. What did I say? That one you said that I liked so much at the very ending of the first video. That
Oh, the spitting.
yeah. It says something about today. Today is dark, but tomorrow will be bright.
Yeah, so after each dark night, there's a brighter day. You know.
I mean, think about that. After each dark night, there is a brighter day.
Yes.
And that is so true. We just
That is.
forget that sometimes.
Mhm.
So during all this time, were there times maybe you were in the hospital or you're working with the credit cards or whatever, as an adult, as a grown-up now, does anyone ever recognize you now, or do you ever tell them about Barney, and what do they say? And what does your daughter think?
Oh my goodness. Well, I have 3 kids.
Oh.
I have a 20-year-old daughter, I have an 11-year-old son, and I have a 9-year-old daughter that I have full custody of since birth.
So you're a single dad?
Well, I always say single dad, but thank God to my lady, Laditra. She helps me. She's been around. Been knowing her for since 2004, but we've been together since 2015, 16. So I don't want to just discard her on the credit
Not
with the
at
single
all.
dad, but I am technically a single dad. You know.
Okay, no,
Yeah.
that does, you're
You
right.
know
No,
what
no,
I'm
no,
saying?
that's good. I think that's good. I
have to give
apologize.
a woman her
to
credit. I'll give her credit, her dues. You know.
Better.
Look at Nancy. So with that, I always tell people who I am because people, they look at me sometimes and they wonder why I'm limping, and they might not understand the powerful testimony that I have, because something they might be going through in their particular life where my testimony can help them out. And it's sometimes I feel like it's more powerful coming from a guy such as myself,
Sure.
who's been known worldwide.
Sure.
Or they might even be like, you know what, I looked up to you, or you helped me raise my child. So I
Sure.
feel like it's more powerful coming from me.
Absolutely.
So I do always tell people, hey, Ricky L. Carter, there from Barton, you remember me? Hey, how you doing?
Do your kids watch the videos or watch the old shows?
They do. Most of the shows were on video, and so what I'm transitioning actually now to do is to turn the videos into DVDs. But I had a VCR player a while back, and my daughters, especially my youngest daughter, she definitely wants to be an actress.
That's
and,
awesome.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
my
we're talking about
son-
VHSs and all this
Oh,
stuff.
I know.
What we had back
I
then.
know.
Yeah,
I know.
yeah.
In fact, it seems like everyone's favorite song that it seems to be the cleanup song. Did you ever sing that one? Is that
Clean up, everybody everywhere. Clean up, everybody do your share.
Yeah.
You just made so many people happy just
Oh,
by saying that.
yeah.
That's what's so amazing. Is what Barney. It just you can't help but smile when you think about Barney.
Well, you saw his face when he.
I know. I know.
Absolutely.
So you mentioned it at the very beginning of the show, as to what kind of Barney, what you now have gotten from Barney through the years. So let's talk a little about what really Barney means to you today.
Barney means to me positive inspiration to people. So many people don't understand what Barney did for their lives or for their kids' lives. Brushing your teeth in the morning and going across, watch both ways before you walk across the street, and like those small things meant a lot, like to people. Because they would tell me, man, you helped raise my kid and raise my child, and so I didn't understand when I was going. Like when I was on Barney, I didn't understand as much of the impact like I understand now from people talking to me. But that was. I mean, Barney is just such a positive inspiration and to people's lives.
Is there something you want to ask Carrie as Barney that maybe you never got to ask a Barney?
David Joyner was my acting teacher, and so when
he was Barney on the PBS series and so on, right?
So the original Barney was a guy named David Voss.
One of my. He was on tour with me. David, so if you remember, David came back. He was on in New York with us. He was the Wingster. People ask about that.
Oh, yeah.
He was the Wingster.
That's my guy. Facebook friends, David Voss. That's my guy. So David he did the first 3 with Nancy. With the
Sandy Duncan.
Sandy Duncan. I'm excuse me, not Nancy. I'm just looking at your physique, and I said Nancy. So yes, he did the Sandy Duncan, the first 3. And so when he left to go to the military, thank you, David, for that. Then my acting teacher came in and he got the job. I told him, hey man, we're looking for a Barney, and you're so cheerful, and I helped him get the job. And
see that? I don't think everyone knows that story.
Yes.
You saved the best to last.
Yes. So we helped David get the job. He went and auditioned for it. He's like, yeah, Derek, Ricky, I train him. He's my acting guy, and so he got the job, and it was amazing, just David, he was the perfect guy for the job. He was the perfect guy.
So you could ask him anything and he helped you out.
Yeah, because I knew him personally on a personal level, and so the only thing is that I want to say, did it ever smoke inside for you as far as catch on fire?
No.
Because I think it happened to him one time.
It happened to Josh. We've talked about it with Josh.
Wow.
I did not have that problem. They had a fan
which I reacted to in LJPCBM reacts before, but then again, it's a big one. But anyway, let's continue on.
Yeah, because they had a fan inside
the battery.
head.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Well, you were blessed.
Yes, absolutely. What now?
You were blessed.
Absolutely, I was. No question.
Yes.
No question.
And then your hair didn't catch a fire. No balls of flame.
No,
Carry.
I had no
None
problem. No problem.
So those were the questions for this Barney. Any question for the backyard kid? One of the first. I mean, anything that we need to.
No, because I feel like. First of all, I feel like I know you. I mean, we were there in New York together, so that was that experience. Because was that your first time in New York?
That was.
Right, so it was all of our. I mean, I'd been there a couple times.
It was.
So it was this kind of bonding, I think, for all of us. And on that stage show, the dancers were from New York. Those were professional dancers, and so there was this whole. There was something about the Dallas group being in New York, and
oh yeah. I mean, we had what it was like. We were there 3 weeks, and we had every show sold out.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Every show was sold out, and this is you talking about the place they do the Grammys at. This is a big venue,
Yeah.
So every show was sold out.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
It was amazing.
Just incredible the experience.
It is amazing. Thank you so much. I mean, I feel like we've only touched the surface with you.
I tell you what, I'll make you a deal.
Okay.
Purple Tales podcast.
Yes.
Whatever I have going on as far as major projects, I'll come back and I'll share it with you guys.
We'd love that.
Definitely. And so you guys will always be my number one. How about that?
Oh, I love it. And I'm going to ask you. I'm going to ask you a
Thank
big
you.
question. I'm going to put you on the spot here. But,
Talk
but
to
first,
me, Nancy.
but first, I want to just say where can people find your videos more about Ricky L. Carter?
On Facebook, I am Ricky L. Carter. I also have an artist page, Gifted Go Getter, Gogitta. On Instagram, that's more my music page, artist page, but I have family stuff on there as well, and that's Gifted Go Getter, Gogitta. And then on YouTube, it's Gifted the Go Getter, THA, not THE. So
Okay.
Gifted the Go Getter.
And that's where they can find the videos and all that.
Videos and yeah, we have the website that I'm revamping. It was gogetter.net, gogitta.net, but we're revamping that now.
Yeah,
So I'll keep you posted.
yeah, that's good. Thank you for that. So here's what I want you. I'm hoping you can do. Let's
Yes, ma'am.
as Derek.
Talk to me.
Can you freestyle a little Barney rap for us and take us out?
So, came in today, everything's okay. Hands together last night, I had to pray. Didn't know what the situation was like. It might have been scary, but thank God I'm here with cool people, Nancy and Carrie. Yes, it feels like a test, but life is such that way. But remember, if you like me, everything will be okay. Going back in the day, don't forget to wash your hands after you play. That guy there, he's okay. Yeah, hopefully you'll say the same.
I love it.
Oh,
I love
thank
it.
you
I
very
love it.
much. That's going to be a hit.
Yes, ma'am. Give me pants. Give me everything, Nancy.
Oh my God.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
love
Thank you.
Good job, Ricky, but there you go. Oh man. So that was Purple Tales Podcast episode 15. What do I think about this episode? It was amazing. So far this episode went to be a success, and overall it was amazing to be at that point. Anyways, that wraps up with this episode of LJPCBM episode 351. Hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned for the next one, which is going to be LJPCBM episode 352, Purple Tales Podcast episode 16. Now, before we go, this episode will be, watch out for this birthday wishes from me coming on the next episode of LJPCBM. But until next time, so Jefferson, goodbye, peace out, baby. We get more reacts, we guys pretty soon. But to bed, Jeff Rossane out. See ya.
Given unto me this life I'll never take for granted, and given all the time I failed to really understand it, I never sought to meet the maker of reality, the one who gave the life that which is always happening, but I tried all the time.